Hi, I'm Janice Cox, the author of Natural Beauty from the Garden, and I'm here today at Mountain Rose Herbs in Eugene, Oregon to talk about making your own natural beauty products using herbal teas. Herbal teas are one of my favorite ingredients to use at home, and it couldn't be easier. Mountain Rose Herbs has a wide variety of dried herbs, one ingredient teas and tea blends, and they all work perfectly in making your own cleansers, toners, creams, lotions, shampoos, bath products. The list is endless. So today I'm going to show you a few of my favorite easy recipes using Mountain Rose herb teas. We all love fresh herbs, and they're easy to pick, especially in the summer, and dry yourself. But if you don't have access to fresh organic herbs, a good source is just a natural tea. And these are easy to find, online at Mountain Rose Herbs, or maybe also in your own kitchen cupboards right now. So you'll hear herbal infusion. Well, an herbal infusion is basically what a cup of tea is. It's taking warm water or cold water and infusing it with a plant material or a dried herb. I like to just take bottles of water and set them out in the sun and add a tablespoon or two of loose tea leaves or dried herbs. A tea bag is really handy because it's about a tablespoon of a dried herb. So if you have a recipe that's called for herbs, you might look in your cupboard and you already have what you need. So a product I like is a facial toner. Teas work really well in this way. We all know that just plain water is probably the best toner there is out there to clean off any soap debris or cleanser, and also close your pores. However, adding an herbal element or herbal tea just kind of elevates it to the next level because you get soothing properties that each different herb has. Like, for example, chamomile is very soothing. Green tea is a very powerful antioxidant. People that have like troubled skin or acne use a green tea. A strong brew of green tea works really well as a facial toner. And you simply just, after cleansing, put it on and don't rinse it off. It is that simple. What I'm going to show you though is how you can take the tea that maybe you already have. I have a black tea here and a chamomile tea, and create other products with it. We talked about a toner, which is a water-based. You also could have an astringent that has more alcohol. Witch hazel is looking through my Mountain Rose herb products, I have so many here. Witch hazel is the classic astringent product. I mean, this comes from a plant that flowers in the fall. We've probably all seen the bright yellow flowers. If you add this, infuse it with some herbal tea, let it just, put some tea in your witch hazel and let it sit for a couple of days. Or you could also mix equal parts witch hazel and tea, and you would have a toner or an astringent product. Now, I like to make my own creams and lotions, and it's basically a cream and a lotion is oil and water. By adding herbal tea instead of the water, you have more herbal product. You can also infuse your oil with the tea, so that just takes it up another level. But how I do this, I'll show you very simple, is I take probably equal parts water or tea. This is some black tea, and I'm going to put that. Oh, we have a train going by. Put that in, and then I'm going to add some oil. Today I have sunflower oil, and I'm going to put another jar with sunflower oil. Now you need the key to making creams and lotions is you want them to. You need an emulsifier. I use borax, but you could also use baking soda or a natural salt, but you need that to keep the oil and water mixed, or just every time you use it, you're going to just have to shake the container. And then also, I will use a wax to kind of give it a little body and keep it also more of a protective coat when you use it on your skin, because the things we want to do for our skin, we want to keep it clean, we want to keep it full of moisture, and we want to protect it from the sun. And so after bathing or washing, if we put on a cream, a lotion, an oil, that kind of forms a protective layer on our skin and and slows down the evaporation process. I hate to say that we evaporate during the day, but it's true, we do. So we'll put a little bit of wax. You can buy from Mountain Rose Herbs some beeswax in a stick or in like little granules. You can also use an emulsifying wax, which is a plant-based wax. But the amount of wax that you put in your oil will kind of determine whether it's a cream or a lotion. For a cream, you'll probably have more of a, you could even add some natural butters like cocoa butter or shea butter or mango butter. But you know, you have a waxier base, it will be more of a cream. If you have very little wax, it'll be more of a lotion. I think when you buy commercial products, if you flip them over and you look at the list of ingredients, you'll see if water is first, it's probably a lotion. If oil is first, it's a cream or a heavier body butter. So I put in, I'm going to make kind of a heavier lotion, and I think I put in about a teaspoon of the beeswax pellets. If you don't have the pellets, you can just take the little bar and use a cheese grater and grate it into pieces. That helps it melt a little faster. And if you don't, and you also, a good source of beeswax is, if you know somebody that keeps bees, they love to share their beeswax. So there you go. So I'm going to put this in. I've created a water bath using an electric fry pan. You can do and just maybe an inch of water. You also can use just a fry pan on your stove. You want to insulate your jars. You don't want to put these directly on heat. And you also don't want to put them in the microwave. That can kind of alter. If you've ever seen like maybe some cocoa butter, something has like kind of white spots on it, it's been overheated. So you really want to gently heat things. You never want to boil them, and you want to slowly melt them. You know, it's handcrafted, and the process takes a little bit of time, but really not that much time, because I think these have only been in here a couple minutes. So I already have some started. I have my tea mixture, and I have my oil mixture. Now this also could be an infused oil. If you took, like I took some calendula petals, and I have had these steeping in a natural oil. So you could also use an infused oil, and so you could have herbal tea in both of these and have a tea blend. The combinations, once you get the basics down, the combinations are endless. So what I do is I put in the water mixture into, I like to use these hand mixers. You can also use a mixer or a whisk, anything that blends things together. It's a little bit like making a salad dressing or a mayonnaise. You're making an emulsion of water and oil. So I put the tea in, and then what I do is I slowly start up my, let's see if I can start up my, well, I'll hold my hand on it. Okay, I start my, and I start blending, and then I slowly, in a slow, steady stream, add the oil. And as I add it, it will start to emulsify and become what we know as a body lotion or a cream. You just slowly keep adding. Now it'll be pretty liquidy because this is pretty hot. I think I had it at 200 degrees. So it's not going to be something you're going to spread on your body right away. But you get the point. You're going to continue to stir this, and then as it cools, you might give it a stir every now and then just to keep it from separating. But that's really all you need to do. If it does separate, not a problem, just heat it up and reblend it. So as this cools, it will become a nice cream that you can use on your body. Here's one that I made earlier, so you can kind of get a sense for how it's a little bit of a stronger, a little thicker, but it's still pretty weak because there's only, I think, a half a teaspoon of beeswax in this one. So again, if you want more of a cream, almost like a cold cream, you would add more wax or even add some butter to it. So that's how you can make a simple herbal lotion or cream using tea. Another thing I like to do is create facial masks. You know, facial masks are super easy to make at home, and what's nice about it is you can customize them to where your skin is at that time. You know, in the summer, maybe our skin doesn't need quite the amount of oil or moisturizing that it does in the winter. So you can make a product that is maybe more lighter and more refreshing. You might even put your mask in the refrigerator so it's cooling, where in the winter you might want to put a heavier oil and you know, more soothing what I was going to say, soothing tea or ingredients. So what I really like these tea blends that Mountain Rose has, and this one is called Love, and it has roses and cinnamon, and I think it has, I have to look at this in a minute, I think it also has some, orange peel and vanilla. Ooh. So this makes a really nice, you can use individual, you can use chamomile tea or green tea, but you also, I like using the tea blends. And so you just brew up a mixture of tea, and then also I like to use the cosmetic clay. There's all kinds of clays. I think if you go on, I know I just got the new magazine / catalog, and in the back they outline all the different products and all the different clays, and you can really see a difference. But they all work about the same. What clay does is it really kind of helps detox and deep cleanse the skin, and that's the purpose of a good facial mask. You want to remove any surface impurities and dead skin cells so that your skin can function more efficiently, because clean skin is healthy skin and it'll retain more moisture. So you can use a cosmetic clay, or you can use a French green clay. There's a Razul mud, there's bentonite, and they all work pretty much the same. And what you do is just put some in a jar, like I do equal parts to start. I do equal parts clay to tea, and then build from there if you want it, but you really can't mess it up. And people make clay masks. They make them for their scalps, they make them for their underarms. It's a really useful detoxing, cleansing product that you can make easily at home. I mean, a lot of these things, you know, you're making, it's super cost effective. You're making for pennies what you're spending dollars on at the store. So, you know, make sure you use good ingredients and you're still way ahead. So then, let's see. I think I'll use the chamomile. Now, you could strain this out. I have all the chamomile daisies. I don't mind having the herbal bits in my products. I kind of like the look of it. But if you are somebody that doesn't want any flowers or leaves or herb, you can easily just just strain it out, and you just have then a clear infusion. But I will put I don't mind the herbs, so I will stick them in. You can either stir it with a spoon, put the lid on, and just give it a shake. And this will last. You can store it in the refrigerator, store it in a dry, dark spot, and it will last, depending how you use it. I would spoon it out, not introduce your fingers into it. But then you can use this as you would any clay mask product. You just simply, now this is a little thin. I might add a little more clay, but you would just spread it on your skin, let it sit for 10-15 minutes, and then rinse it off. You know, and I like to do a clay mask on my feet. You know, that is really nice and soothing, and especially after a long day, it's detoxing, and it works well. I like it on my face. And again, if you're somebody who does a lot of masking, making your own is super easy, and but maybe think about adding some tea instead of water to it. So that's the mask. Herbal tea also works well as a bath product. You can add it to bath salts. I like to do a blend of baking soda, Epsom salt, sea salt, and then maybe add the dried herbs. If you are worried about going down your drain, just maybe put everything in a cotton washcloth and tie it up and toss it in. It makes almost kind of like a nice little herbal scrub sack, and then at the end of the tub, you can just toss the dried bits into your compost bin and rinse out your washcloth, and you're good to go. So that is how I like to use herbal teas. For more ideas, there's a lot of good recipes online at Mountain Rose Herbs. We have some, and of course in my book, you can find all the recipes, but I just really appreciate you watching this video, and I thank Mountain Rose Herbs for having me here today. Thank you.